Further, bring on Dr. Greg Carter.
All right, hey Lenny, we got some reverb.
Yeah, I'm.
All right.
Oh, Melissa says that she couldn't hear anything. Hey, Melissa, can you hear me now? Are we good? Okay, we'll start again. I'm Dr. Greg Carter. Welcome to the Nationwide Call. Today we're going to talk about, and we're going to keep our eyes on radiation or ionizing radiation. We're going to talk about the truths of ionizing radiation specifically and radiation in general. We're going to talk about the trepidation around the word radiation. And we're going to talk about the tools that a person can use to mitigate the harmful effects of that ionized radiation as it relates to you, your end user, and everyone you see in your world. Now, everybody really needs to get this, especially these truths about radiation. There are some basic premises, some basic truths that everybody just needs to come to grips with so that we can speak appropriately and so that we can speak accurately to our end user or our target audience. And these rules or these truths are actually laws, like laws in physics. We're going to go over them and how these laws, these facts of life in this iteration of reality, this simulation that we're living in, how these facts of life relate directly to our project, to our purpose, and to our product as a company. Now, before we go and do all of that kind of boring stuff, we have something very special. I'm not entirely sure how to unmute everybody, Lenny, but we're going to need to ask the group a question. Do you know how to do that? All right, we're going to ask this to everyone in the group. Does anybody know this very important answer to this trivia question? What is the third leading cause of death in America? The third leading cause of death in America. Anybody?
Cancer.
Close. Anybody else?
Heart disease?
That's number
Close.
one.
Christopher.
Respiratory. It's got to be respiratory then, like respiratory illness. Or is that fifth?
It's not, it's none of those. You're all very,
it's-
very close.
Big
Suicide?
pharma, doctors.
Who said doctors? Who said doctors?
Me,
Who's
Piper.
me? Piper wins the bottle of C60. Lenny is going to get the C60
Well,
out
that's
to
not
you.
fair because the CDC does not put that in. And I mean, I always look up that stuff, and the CDC doesn't mention that. So.
Well, we'll mince hairs later. Currently, WHO recognizes iatrogenic diseases in general and misdiagnosis and mistreatment specifically as the third leading cause of death in America. The CDC's statistics, well, they're neither here nor there at the moment. Many of us don't exactly agree with a lot of what they're saying, especially as it relates to things like the jab. The long and the short of it is this. There are two areas that we need to consider when we're thinking about this arena of life. There's medicine and there's health, okay? Medicine is designed to keep you just above dead. if the healthcare system or the medical system has taken a patient from a state of catastrophic illness or disease and utilization of a third-party payer brought them to just above dead, they've met their fiduciary responsibility to the patient and they are done for the day and they're going out to lunch. Health, on the other hand, health is the responsibility of the patient. It's the responsibility of each and every one of us, and it's the responsibility of your end user. Your target audience has to understand that what we have here are not medical products, they are health care products. And health is each person's personal responsibility. Once the medical system has taken you from a state of disease or dysfunction or near death to your breathing, and you can make autonomous decisions, you may now seek to take advantage of tips, tools, and technologies that can help you to achieve a level of optimum. And that's what we have here in our product line. We have tips, we have tools, we have technologies that a person can use to bring you from that state of just stability or homeostasis to that state of optimum. And that's what we're all really trying to achieve here, okay? So congratulations, Piper. Given whether or not the CDC agrees with you or not, WHO thinks that doctors in general and the healthcare system specifically is the third leading cause of death in America, okay? Now we're gonna talk about a basic law that everybody learned in 7th grade. It's the first law of thermodynamics. It says matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. They can only change form. Now, what the hell does that have to do with anything? And the price of tea in China, or as it relates to our product line? All it means, ladies and gentlemen, is that everything that we perceive in this physical universe, this physical matter, actually is in of itself some form of energy oscillating at a frequency that we can physically interact with as human beings. And if we know anything about energy, we know this. We know that all energy radiates. All energy radiates, okay? All matter, this table, this shirt, these computers, these iPhones, they all radiate. All matter is a form of energy, and therefore all matter radiates, and we call that energy radiation, okay? So we have to differentiate between normal radiation, which exists all around us, and harmful radiation that we're all concerned about, which we call ionizing radiation. So what does ionizing radiation mean? Because it sounds like something harmful, and it is. It sounds like something we should know about, and you should. Ionizing radiation simply is that form of abnormal or antithetical radiation to the human organism that when this machine is exposed to the ionizing radiation, over time, the ionizing radiation will cause electrons in normal particles to drift outside of the outer valence shell, creating what we call a free radical. And if we know anything about free radicals, we know that these free radicals will start to bounce around the body and start to create damage, and the damage will start to create inflammation. The real or the main danger of ionizing radiation, whether it's from Wi-Fi towers, whether it's from our cell phones, whether it's from our TV, whatever beautiful technology that we're using, we're exposed to is, whatever it is, it's emitting a level of ionizing radiation that is in and of itself damaging our cells, and we have to deal with that, okay? We call these particles in the body that are missing electrons free radicals. What we do know is that exogenous or from outside the body free radicals caused by outside interference, like this laptop, like my cell phone, like my TV, right, will lead to injury from the macro tissue scale all the way down to the DNA. So from you, the entity, all the way down to your DNA, this ionizing radiation that we are taking a bath in every single minute, every single day, everywhere we go, is damaging this thing we call a body from head to toe, from outside all the way to the deepest, darkest depths of our genetic structure. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the danger of ionizing radiation, okay? Now, the key problem, if we know ionizing radiation is problematic, and it is, and we know that radiation emissions from our technology, our beautiful technology that I'm not going to give up, our technology of convenience, has ionizing properties, and there's no escape from it unless we move to Vilcabamba, Ecuador, and we walk barefoot in the sand. We have to live in a world where we're going to allow ourselves to be exposed to this ionizing radiation to varying degrees. And we know one of these key problems is, as we mentioned a moment ago, the formation of free radicals. We know these free radicals damage your tissue all the way down to your DNA. The question you got to ask yourself, and the question that you have to pose to your end user, is if we're going to continue to live in the miracle of the 21st century, and we're going to continue to enjoy the benefits of modern tools and technology like what we're communicating on today, realizing that every single tool is a double-edged sword, it's good and it's bad, does this company, do we, as a collective, do we have a solution or solutions to mitigate exogenous free radical formation in the body? And the answer is many. Does everybody agree with that? We have many technologies that are going to disassociate and mitigate free radical formation in the body. A key solution is the disassociation, deactivation, and mitigation of exogenous free radicals. The reason I harp on exogenous is because there is such a thing as endogenous free radical formation, and some of that is actually normal and needed. We're not concerned about that. We're concerned about the free radical formation of exposure to things that this machine was never designed to be exposed to, okay? So let me ask you, true or false? Anybody, do you think that the human organism, this body that we live in, of the 21st century, is exposed to more harmful stimuli in 1 week of existence than our pre-programmed Paleolithic ancestors were exposed to in a year? Anyone?
Yes,
Hunter,
true.
who said that?
true.
Robin?
Yes,
We're 100% correct, okay? This machine is exposed to, in 1 week, orders of magnitude greater stimuli of a harmful type than this machine was ever designed to be exposed to. How you know that's true is, who knows what the last update to the human organism was? Does anybody know what that update was called? Anyone? Cro-Magnon man. It was Cro-Magnon man. That is the last update that these bodies got. This machine is designed to live in a Paleolithic era. It is not designed to live in this utopia of suspended animation above the Schumann resonance of the earth and our rubber sole shoes and our insulated floors and our air conditioning and our Starbucks and our laptops and our cell phones. But because of our frontal cortex and our ability to form art, science, literature, technology, because we can do all of these things, we have stepped away from our natural programming into a lifestyle that is both convenient, comfortable, and safe, and safer in many ways than being exposed to the harmful elements in a saber-toothed tiger, but in many other ways, very invisible, very insidious, very devious ways, we are constantly exposing ourselves to an invisible threat that we call electromagnetic frequency in general and ionizing radiation specifically, okay? So if we know that most, if not all, of the harmful stimuli that the human organism of the 21st century is exposed to is technologically mediated, okay? If we know that the technologically mediation harm exists, what are those forms? Would everyone agree that EMF is a form of technologically mediated convenience and harm? Does anybody doubt that EMF is harmful? EMF is harmful, right? Letty, can you let people answer? Who thinks genetically modified foods are harmful?
Absolutely, they are.
They're
Yeah.
absolutely harmful.
Totally.
Totally harmful. We have genetically modified foods because we have a population that requires, according to the powers that be, that requires antibiotics and hormones and this genetic modification so that we don't create the zombie apocalypse of the 21st century. I don't know. I'm not a microbiologist, okay? But that is what they say. So we know that according to them, their thesis is that in order to keep us safe, they're going to genetically modify these foods to be resilient against parasites and resilience against disease states. The problem, as an example, what is the main benefit of giving antibiotics to farm animals besides, quote unquote, keeping them from getting sick? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what the #1 side benefit of antibiotic exposure to farm animals is?
More muscle mass.
You're close, Piper. It's actually more fat. They get fatter faster. Now, these antibiotics that are found in the food supply are not denatured by the cooking process. They're not denatured by heat. And if those antibiotics make the farm animals fat, guess what happens when this animal is exposed to them at a super physiologic rate? This animal destroys its microbiome and this animal gets fat. So one of the technologically mediated conveniences that we all love, we all take advantage of, even in this moment, is electromagnetic frequency, but it's harmful. One of the technologically mediated advancements that we all utilize in the local supermarket, mostly, is genetically modified food. But we know that this GMO food carries a double-edged sword with it. It carries harm with it. And lastly, which we can't talk too much about and everybody knows why, is the nuclear, biological, and chemical threats that these human beings are being exposed to on a daily basis. Now, we don't need to get into it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, okay? There really is no upside to a nuclear, biological, or chemical threat, but the nuclear, biological, and chemical threat is all around us. Now, the question that I have for you is, what is the common denominator in harm to the human organism, if it's from EMF, if it's from GMO, if it's from a nuclear, biological, or chemical threat, if it's from physical trauma? What is the common denominator? Anybody? Does inflammation sound right?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Is the common denominator to almost all diagnostic states. And if our inflammation is technologically mediated through EMF, through GMO, through MBC, chemical warfare against us, if all of these forms of damage, all of these vectors of transmission are technologically mediated, do we as a company, as a group, do we have technologically mediated solutions to mitigate exogenous inflammatory and free radical forming harmful substances?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I honestly don't think there could be anything more important than what we're doing. We are giving people a way to lie down on something that they do every day and bathe their body in free radical disassociating electrons, electron donors, to disassociate free radical formation and to calm inflammation so your body's natural, normal healing mechanisms can start to come online. If the bed and the technology through the electron donation and the enhanced circulation and oxygenation of the farm-for-red technology and the antimicrobial component of the silver all serves to reduce inflammation through the various means that I just elucidated. If your body doesn't itself have to deploy all of its resources tonight while you're sleeping towards dealing with inflammation because it's getting all of these exogenous wave after wave after wave, tsunami of healing electrons, does that allow you or your end user a better chance of healing? Yes or no?
Yep.
Are we saying that this is going to cure your cancer? Are we saying this is going to cure your lupus? Are we saying this is going to cure your broken leg? We're not saying any of that, because none of that is true. What is true, what we do know, is that the underlying common denominator of almost every diagnostic state in the PDR is an inflammatory state mediated by free radical, exogenous free radical formation and exposure. The question I'm going to pose to each and every one of you again is, does this company, do we as a team have products that can perform in such a way that they mitigate that free radical nightmare that's happening? Do we have that?
Yeah,
We got it better than anybody else. Let me tell you something, folks. We got it better than anybody else. Nobody's got what we got. Nobody. Okay? And you should feel very confident in that. And you know you can feel confident in it because we got a patent to protect you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I would like to know how could the technology affect the use of antibiotics, like in the animals, like pork, beef, chicken?
How could the use of our technology affect the effect of antibiotics in animals?
Well, us ingesting the animal that's had the antibiotics.
So there's no direct effect of the reduction of inflammation on the inappropriate exposure to exogenous antibiotics. To my knowledge, the only means and mechanism that a person can use to forestall and mitigate the effects of overexposure to antibiotics that are in the food supply to protect you, right, is the utilization of broad spectrum, live, raw, organic probiotics and prebiotics, okay? The role of our technology is the reduction of inflammation and the mitigation of free radical formation. So let's say that you are taking probiotics and you're not using our technology, right? Okay, is the taking of probiotics helpful? Probably, right? But all of your body's energy, and there's a finite amount of energy that it can use in this 24-hour window, is going to be deployed just to keeping you above dead. But if you are instead relying on this technology and utilizing the surrounding and supplemental oral and topical technologies that we have available to you and the end user, then you are dealing with all of these exogenous criminals so that your body's natural healing state and the exogenous probiotics that you're introducing to your frame can deal with the harmful effects of the antibiotics in the food supply. Okay, Robin.
And it's probably in the water too. It's probably in the water from people urinating and stuff as well, and all the drugs in there in the water.
The second part of your statement, Robin, I will agree with. It's a well-known fact, in case all of our listeners are aware of it, is there is a well-known fact that our water supply is completely tainted by pharmaceutical petrochemicals. And as a result of that, it makes perfect sense for a person to have a very good, high quality, 4-stage or more reverse osmosis or analogous water machine. I myself have a Kangen water machine. So Robin is completely right, 100% right, that again, we live in this miracle of the 21st century where we can exist in this thing called cities with millions of people stacked on top of one another in these egg cartons called apartments and condos. And nobody's dying of the Black Plague yet. That's because of sanitation. That's because of plumbing. That's because of centralized air and heat, etc. Okay? But in order to make all of that not toxic, apparently, to avoid creating or allowing some bacteria or pathogen to create the zombie apocalypse, they infuse this water with petrochemicals. I don't know. I'm not a city planner. I know it's there, just like Robin said. Okay? So for purposes of inflammation, and free radical formation. What I want each and every one of you to take away from this call is this. You've got amazing tools that people just have to rely on that can mitigate orders of magnitude more free radicals than taking every frickin' antioxidant available in Whole Foods and Vitamin Shop combined. Okay? You should have a high level of confidence in the technology and its ability to do these things, to mitigate free radical formation and to reduce inflammation. Everything else is extraneous to that. The core, the tip of the spear of this company is the reduction of free radical formation and then the mitigation of abnormal inflammatory states in the body. Okay, I hope that that helps everybody. I know that I'm not as poetic as John, I'm a lot more straightforward, but that is the thesis that we founded this company on, and that is the thesis that we move forward on. And I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. And, you know, I'm very grateful to each and every one of you for jumping on board of our ship and for believing in this product and for learning about it, this product line, so that you can expose everyone in your sphere of awareness and your sphere of influence to try to help them. Because even if you only help one person, you've changed the course of reality. So there it is.
Thank you, Dr. Greg, for everything you're doing. You're so right. And I thank you for the information because it helps me understand. I already have confidence in the product, and I can't wait till I get my bed covered. But I'm in chat groups all the time on Telegram, and all they're talking about is the MedBed technology coming. But if we would just understand how to take our health back through the tools that y'all have created with your company, everybody would be in a much better position. So thank you so much. I'm glad to be a part of this groundbreaking adventure.
Ditto. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And
Everybody
John
have a
and
great
Lenny
week.
and
Go ahead, Robin.
I was just saying, and John and Lenny and everybody.
There you go, Lenny. You got a shout out.
Nice.
We won't fire him today. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming to the call. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
It's wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.